Hello everyone, today I'm here to go through my anticipated list for Essen Spiel. This is 10 games, with an honourable mention of course, that I would definitely be checking out if I was at the convention this year. Unfortunately I'm not, but as soon as these games sort of become available here in the UK, I'll still be wanting to check them out. And like I say, if I was at the convention, I would be plotting a route out on the map to make sure I ticked all of these off. So first of all, let's jump in with Mindbug New Creations. Now, I reviewed Mindbug a while ago now. It is a very small card game from Richard Garfield, where it feels a little bit like Keyforge, to be honest, because you're just trying to sort of smash your opponent a little bit by playing these sort of bugs and stuff, but it's not as complicated with forging keys and all that sort of stuff. You basically pick up a deck, you use some of the cards, and, you know, your opponent is using some of the cards. It's not like you're both having your own deck and different things like that, and just some of the cards are spectacular if you time them right, horrible if you don't, and all that sort of jazz. It's a very fun card game, and this seems like just more sort of good cards. Obviously they're all in what I can assume is Spanish there, but yeah, there is apparently an English version of it there, so that's an honourable mention for you, Mindbug. If you've not played it at all, it is worth trying out if you like sort of that one-on-one card game feel. Next up is the actual start of the top 10, and this is a game from Repos Productions, Fun Facts. This is in their line of games that has come from Just One and So Clover. Now, I wasn't as impressed with So Clover. I think it's still a good game. It's still got its own place. But Just One is a phenomenal party-ish sort of game where you're trying to make hints towards, give clues to one person. And Fun Fact is, it's not in that sort of vein, but it's down that sort of route. You can see where they're coming from with this. If we have a look at the thing, basically a question is read out, and then you're going to be writing something and then putting them into size order and things like that. It doesn't feel like it's going to be the next Just One, but it does feel like it could be at least a semi-decent party game. And from this company, they've done a well award-winning title, so why not give them a chance with this one? At least that's what I think. I'd have a look at this one. Next up we have Foundations of Rome from Arcane Wonders. Now, it had a huge Kickstarter like a year and a half ago or 2 years ago or whatever. I missed that. I kind of didn't really realise it was happening. I think I saw it was happening, the price tag put me off. And then ever since, I've wanted to play this game because the production alone is incredible. I love tile-ish sort of placement games. It's not tiles, it's chunky buildings, but it's still city building goodness. There just seems like, if you can play this at the convention, it seems like a really good way of getting hands-on with what is a ludicrously expensive game. I think this is way too expensive a game that for most people it's going to be, I hope, brilliant but impossible to recommend. That sort of ballpark. I assume that's where it's going to be. But if you get a chance to play at a convention, you can see if it's good before you spend your money, or you've at least had that chance to play a game that is probably out of reach for a lot of gamers. Foundations of Rome, though, it's got some great sounding mechanics with choosing from that market, when to skip a turn just to gain money, when spending that money is a good idea, and all that sort of jazz. Next up, we have Verdant. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right, but it is from Flat Out Games, the same teams that brought you the likes of Cascadia, and I think the cat one as well, which is completely slipping my mind. Let me know the name of that in the comment section below. But a green foliage sort of themed game. It's a theme that I didn't think I'd ever be interested in, and I'm not too much, to be honest, but Tussie Mussy, a game from Elizabeth Hargrave, I found actually that was a really pleasant game to play. Greenery and plants, just, it's a pleasant theme, and I think that's capitalised in Verdant, and with Beth Sobel artwork, it looks pretty nice as well. It's got lots of bright colours still, as you're sort of building out this pattern. Let's see if there's a good picture, some nice chunky resources. Oh, let's click through. We're not gonna well, you can get these tokens basically that build next to things, and here we go. Yeah, this kind of shows it. You're kind of building them in this pattern where you're getting scoring points and things being sort of put next to each other, and that's important, like where in the grid you're placing these things. I like that, a bit of a spatial puzzle, a bit of a sort of nice looking bright colours game. It seems like the sort of ones that's easy to get to the table and hopefully has a little bit of something to it like Cascadia does as well. So yeah, that is Verdant. Again, don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but I would say definitely go and check this one out. Next up, from what is a sort of smallish, light-ish sorts of game, we're going to jump to a big space opera where you're actually just rolling and writing. Twilight Inscription. It's an interesting one, this. I don't still know if I need it in my life. In terms of, I've got Twilight Imperium and it doesn't get to the table all that much. I got roll and writes that get to the table a little bit more because they're really short and fun. And this is not short, but hopefully it could be fun, because you've got different boards. You've got these like 4 different boards that you're working on, but you're only ever working on one of them in a round. That's a really neat way of making what could be super complicated less complicated. And actually, I think after playing through stuff like Welcome to the Moon, where the board changes often and you've got different objectives going from one game to the next, it makes me feel like if you're just kind of focusing on one of those boards each round or turn or whatever, then you could easily get to grips with that. And it sounds like it's got aliens and stuff still. It sounds like it's still got voting, even if the voting's not brilliant. It seems like they've done a semi-decent job of making Twilight Imperium a 6 to 8 hour minis, crashing into minis, big space opera, somehow into almost the simplest sort of game, a roll and write. I don't know if I'm going to enjoy it, but I really, really want to give it a go. That's Twilight Inscription. Next up, another game I didn't really think I needed. I've got Splendor and it works well at 2, but all of the reviews that I've seen for this are actually quite positive. I enjoy Splendor, and even the people that enjoy Splendor say this is better than Splendor at 2 players, because you've got plenty of choices which directly can improve your sort of opponent's odds and all that sort of jazz, which is not what you want at all. You want, good things for you, bad things for your opponent. But there's choices here where it can be, well, if you take that, you're going to give one of these scrolls to your opponent, and they can just cash that in maybe for a free chip. Wow, okay, that's all of a sudden now a choice. Do I really want to give them that sort of power? Probably not. But you're still gaining these sort of chips up of these resources to spend them for cards, to then be able to use those to make things in the future cheaper, and that really nice Splendor engine building that's really simple to teach. It seems like it's all there unaffected, but just a few twists on it. So Splendor Duel is definitely one I'm excited to play. Next up, another game which is something I didn't think I needed it until I heard about it the first time. I'm still not sure if I need a dice version of Terraforming Mars, but it's a Terraforming Mars game, so I kind of want it. I don't in my head see how well this is going to work, but then I wasn't too sure about the Ares expedition version, and actually that worked quite well. It felt enough like Terraforming Mars without sort of replacing it at all. It felt like very much its own sort of experience. To me, not as good, and I don't think the dice game will be as good. But at least it will be interesting. And that's very important for a game to be interesting and pique my interest. And a dice game of one of my dice version of one of my favourite games. It's hard to say no to this one. Next up is, now this is The Mists over Carcassonne. Carcassonne isn't for everyone. It's very light, but it is one of my favourite games just because it's quite nice and peaceful. I'm surprised they haven't released this ahead of time so people could, I'm surprised it's not in the shops now so people could get it for Halloween. I feel like it's one of those ones where it's almost going to release too late. But it is a sort of Carcassonne game where there are some ghosts. You can see sort of on the map here there's some ghosts and this sort of ghosty area where you're still sort of using it to expand out. I don't know quite how it works, but it feels, it at least sounds like it's base Carcassonne with a twist. And I've enjoyed some of the other twists, like the gold mine one. I didn't enjoy that twist too much, but the Amazonas one I didn't enjoy too much. The safari one was okay. You're seeing a trend here, but I do like Carcassonne, so I want to give Mists over Carcassonne a go. Again, I'm not sure if that is the right name, translation or whatever, but it would be on my list to go and play, get a play of this game and probably bring it home as well. Next up, a game that is almost certainly going to be good because the other two in the series are fantastic. Micro Macro Crime City, phenomenal game. The sequel, which I can't remember the name of, it has like green text on it, great. All In, this third one, I think it's just going to be more of the same. There's something really special about seeing the map, and I don't think they're going to show off the map here at all. So how does this sort of game work? Well, you've got this sort of mission quest card that sets off, and you can see from the top corner of them how long of quests they are. This is an 8-card quest. So looking at this big map, you would have to find the furniture store. Once you've found that, you'd flip it over to reveal if you got it right or wrong, so you could go on to the next one, working out then what happened to the courier. Now, how does that quite work, you might ask? Well, the way this works is it's not a snapshot in time, it's snapshots in times, but all on one map. So you can follow back someone as they've sort of walked along the street. Maybe they're at this lamppost, and then you can follow it back, say, like a couple of minutes, and they were at the other end of that street, or partway along that street. Maybe they've just crossed the road there. Maybe then you follow that rough pattern, right? If they've just crossed the road, maybe they're down here. Oh, here they were. They're a few maybe minutes before they were buying an ice cream. That's an example, but that's how it works. And you can follow them back to then find out, in this case, what happened to the courier. I really enjoyed the other two, so more of the same is all good with me. My number 2 game to go and check out is The Great Split by Horrible Guild. Now, they have put out some brilliant games, very different ballparks normally, and this one is something I don't think they've done before, which is an I Split You Choose card drafting sort of game. And I kind of like the theming on this one, even though it maybe looks somewhat a little bit cubey and all like track pushing and that sort of stuff. That doesn't faze me too much. I like the idea of this, where you are giving people different options and they are choosing which cards to sort of draft and then push up on those tracks. There's a lot of tracks, but I like that. I like the logic of that, at least. And, well, they've not done any massive misses for me, Horrible Guild. Even though this is something that's not 100% normally in their sort of wheelhouse, I still want to give it a go. And it looks graphically quite interesting. I think that main board looks a bit boring. But some of the card art at least looks nice, and nice, sort of simplified but bold colours, and it looks an attractive game, which for a card drafting game is very important. And yeah, I want to give this one a go. Card drafting and open, sort of like, if any kind, is interesting, and an I split you choose. Yeah, that really could work for me. But it's not my number one. My number one isn't a game, in fact. It's an expansion pack. Now, I have put this expansion pack, which is technically, this part is in German. I've done the rest of the list in English, but it's because you should be able to pick these up in English, maybe separately, not as a pack. But these are the 3 new map packs for cartographers and / cartographers heroes. 2 fantastic games. They've already had like 6 different map packs, or maybe they're 3 and these are the 6, but I think this is like 7, 8 and 9. More expansions, definitely. I got the game back to the table recently with 2 brand new players, and they came out of the experience going, it's not quite what I expected, but we enjoyed it and would like to play again. And for me, getting new map packs is a brilliant way of getting this back to the table. And, you know, you could be one of the first people to get these expansions at Essen Spiel. Well, check out, that is the list, so check out my other video. There is a top 5 games that are at Essen Spiel that I have played and are really good. So this was my anticipated list. They are going to be games I've played. I try to keep that separate because while I've played cartographers, I've not played these maps, but I do very much anticipate them being very, very good indeed. Let me know what you'd want to go and check out as well. Go and check out other videos and stuff. And until next time, well, have a great Essen Spiel.